Hello and welcome to the Jewish Curiosity Podcast, where we ask questions and take journeys. We're currently in the midst of a journey to try and explore the question, what am I doing here? And in this episode, we discuss prayer and how through it, surprisingly, we actually fulfill our purposes in the world. I hope you enjoy. When you think about it for a minute, prayer doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You see, God knows what's best for you. He wants what's best for you, and he has the ability to do whatever he wants. So what are you asking for? If that thing was good for you, wouldn't God have brought it about for you already? Moreover, we say 19 blessings to God in the Shemona Esrei, in the Amida prayer, the main Jewish prayer. Now, what can your blessings possibly do for an infinite God? He has everything to him. What could you add with your own blessings? The answer to all this is that prayer, tefillah, is not at all what we think it is. We tend to think of prayer as we make requests to God and he thinks about them, and sometimes he says yes and sometimes he says no. But that is really not what prayer is all about. Prayer is a reality. It's a superpower that we've been given with which we bring godliness into the world. That means to say, God created an imperfect world, and he calls upon us to be his partners in creation and to bring the world to its ultimate perfection. We see a world of darkness. There's darkness in this world, there's brokenness in this world, and when we pray, we are actually bringing the divine light into the world, and with our very words, we are healing the world. For example, when you pray for wisdom, the divine light of wisdom comes into the world, and with your very words, the world just became a wiser place. The same is true about peace and justice and health and wealth. When we pray for these things, we're actually bringing these lights into the world. Prayer is not talking about God. It's not something which is descriptive. It's rather something which is prescriptive. We are bringing about realities. We are bringing his light and presence into the world. This makes a huge difference for us in many aspects of our lives. Firstly, it resolves our theological questions. Yes, it's true. God knows what's best for you and he can do whatever he wants. But God has a mission for us. God entrusts us with the obligation, with the mission of bringing about what's best for us and bringing about what's best for the world. And that is something that we do through our prayers. God himself is, of course, infinite, but his presence in the world is not fully manifest. When you look around the world and you see pain and suffering, you see brokenness and darkness, that is a lack of God's presence in the world. With your prayers, with our prayers, we bring godliness into the world. These lights are coming into the world with our own words. Secondly, it makes us realize that prayer is an inherently altruistic endeavor. On the one hand, prayer is your alone time with God, and you might even be praying for your own needs. However, when you start to pray, you turn on this machine, which is your superpower of tefillah. And when you do so, the lights come into the world. You're praying for wisdom. Even if you're praying for it for yourself, you turn on this superpower and it brings the light of wisdom into the world, and necessarily the whole world benefits from your prayers. Thirdly, it addresses one of the most difficult questions. What happens to the lost prayers? What happened to the prayer that you said when you wanted to get that job, but you didn't get the job in the end? What happened to the prayer you said for that person so that they should recover from their illness, but they didn't recover? What happened to the prayer that you said for someone to return well and safe and alive, but they didn't return? What happens to those prayers? The answer is that no prayer is ever lost. When you pray, there is an automatic bringing of light into the world. Now, it's true that God has his calculations. We can't always understand these calculations. In fact, we often cannot understand these calculations. And God may decide that your prayer cannot be used for you now, but it doesn't mean it can't be used for you in the future. He may decide that the light that you're bringing into the world cannot be used for that particular individual, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't be used for others. Perhaps their family members, perhaps complete other people entirely. One thing that we know for certain is that when you pray, you bring those lights into the world, and the world will benefit from that. So this is prayer. It's our responsibility, it's our opportunity. With prayer, we bring light into the world, and with that, no prayer will ever be lost. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Jewish Curiosity podcast. If you want to find out more or check out more episodes, you can go to www.jewishcuriosity.com, or you can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Have an amazing day, and hope to see you next time.